This is all about Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation, all Bitcoin, all the time. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Checking in on Bitcoin right now, the CoinDesk Bitcoin price XVX index currently at $37,544. Bitcoin slightly down over the past 24 hours, sliding 2.5%. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data. Taking a look at our top stories moving markets. The ADP January jobs report missed expectations by a mile, showing a loss of about 300,000 jobs against expectations for a gain of 200,000 jobs. ADP put the blame on the Omicron coronavirus variant for the first negative jobs figure since December of 2020. Meanwhile, for 2021, MicroStrategy posting total Bitcoin impairment losses of $831 million versus $71 million in 2020, according to its latest earnings statement. The impairment reflects the decline in the price of Bitcoin versus the price at which the Bitcoin was acquired. But the business intelligence firm is undeterred, saying it bought an extra 660 Bitcoins for around $25 million throughout January. All right, and crypto donations to privacy-focused nonprofit The Tor Project surged 841% in 2021 compared to the previous year. Of the nearly 1 million raised, 58% of the donations came from cryptocurrencies, over half of which was Bitcoin. The Tor Project seeks to improve online privacy through their privacy network and web browser Tor. And when it comes to being the hub for crypto, New York City takes the cake over Silicon Valley in terms of crypto VC funding. CB Insights reporting that New York-based startups raised $6.5 billion in 2021, just under half of all funding for U.S. blockchain companies, thanks to top backers like NYDIG and Celsius Network. Speaking of NYDIG, the Bitcoin investment firm is launching a service for workers to get paid in Bitcoin with its Bitcoin savings plan. NYDIG joins Coinbase and Strike with a service allowing employees to auto-convert some or all of their paychecks into Bitcoin. And Arizona State Senator Wendy Rogers introducing two more crypto-focused bills, one that allows state agencies to accept crypto for payments for fines and taxes, and a second that exempts Bitcoin from property taxes. This is in addition to her bill introduced last week that would make Bitcoin legal tender in the state of Arizona. Taking a look at some Bitcoin price trading. Bitcoin's trading volume across major centralized exchanges on Tuesday fell slightly lower than Monday, according to data compiled by CoinDesk. Major Asian markets are expecting a slowdown this week because many traders and investors are taking time off for Lunar New Year celebrations. Nevertheless, Binance Smart Chain-based yield-enhancing asset tracker Tranches saying new investors, whether retail or institutional, may have entered the crypto market amid lower prices in recent weeks.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
Historically, Bitcoin produces positive returns in February, which could offer some hope for bullish traders. Over the past 9 years, Bitcoin produced an average return of 12% in February and ended the month with a gain of 86% of the time, according to stock charts data. Now, generally, equities also perform well during the second quarter, which means investors could start to increase their exposure to speculative assets. Still, historical returns is no guarantee of future return. Technical indicators suggest short-term buyers could remain active around the $35,000 to $37,000 support zone, although upside appears to be limited toward $45,000. Despite Bitcoin's recent price bounce, some analysts remain skeptical because macroeconomic and regulatory risks remain elevated. UK-based digital asset broker Global Block saying regulation concerns arise as the Biden administration prepares to release an executive order in February to regulate Bitcoin as a matter of national security. It is hard to predict whether this executive order will have a positive or negative impact on the industry. FX Pro telling CoinDesk that the situation in the crypto market remains very fragile. Bitcoin could end up falling for a third month in a row. All right, joining us now to discuss Bitcoin price and more is CoinDesk Director of Professional Content, Galen Moore in Boston. Hello there, Galen. Always great to see you. So taking a look at price right now, what do you think of the February bounce for Bitcoin? Is that a thing?
No, today it is most certainly not a thing. Bitcoin is down on the month as of as of today, and look, I think it's an interesting time for Bitcoin. When crypto markets took their big dip, January 21 to 22, Bitcoin fell less than other widely traded currencies in the CoinDesk 20, and since then it has recovered faster, I think, than most. But I think there's still some questions to be asked about Bitcoin's kind of bear market role. You're seeing that tendency here for Bitcoin to just kind of perform a little better in a bear market. Typically, in a bear market, you see Bitcoin dominance start to recover. In general, I think we might see this asset or that asset survive better on a down day. But overall, within crypto, risk off means Bitcoin, and I think that's the primary driver of what's happening in the market right now. But I think
Bitcoin
the question really is how.
Bitcoin is performing relatively well compared to other cryptocurrencies, though. We have a chart from showing BTC and the CoinDesk 20.
Yeah, that's right. That's the CoinDesk 20 minus some of the stable coins. Bitcoin, you can see in the candle, and the candles there kind of near the top of that list, which also I think actually includes Coinbase shares, just for fun. And I think that chart kind of tells the story. If you look at where those candles are relative to the rest, this was earlier this morning. I think as of this moment, a couple of those currencies have slipped above Bitcoin on year-to-date returns. But nonetheless, you get some buy the dip support for Bitcoin among new entrants. But I think that's probably less true now than it might have been in previous downturns. Investors are more comfortable with riskier assets in crypto. They've seen the returns that are orders of magnitude greater than what Bitcoin can deliver at this point in its maturity. And they're making that calculus. I mean, could Bitcoin go to 150,000? Sure. Okay. Is that 5x? Solana today is still up nearly 2,000% over where it was a year ago, compared to about 6% for Bitcoin. So I think, some question again as to kind of what the future holds for Bitcoin if we go back to a bull market, and again, kind of Bitcoin's role as the risk-off asset, I think, remains. But does that really power it to a new high?
Well, there's that argument, put forward by some experts who's saying, with the institutional investment in Bitcoin these days, that it's behaving more like a tech stock. So do you think there's a correlation there, and it'll continue on with the traditional market up and downs?
Yeah, I mean, I think look, there's tech stocks are getting hit pretty hard right now, and that's having an effect. One of the the kind of continuing strong signals that I look to for the long term is the amount of venture capital dollars flowing into the cryptocurrency space, and not only that, but the sort of the less easy to measure amount of technology talent flowing into this space. You see a lot of people who cut their teeth in Web 2 now taking a really serious interest and commitment in Web 3, and I think the current market right now is going to be tough for fundraising. But if people are doing something early stage, exciting things are going to come out of that in the long term. The big question again is, what benefit might that have for Bitcoin? Certainly there will be a lift, but I think you might start to see, again, a rally in which excitement, perhaps generated by some new offering, some new product to come out. Excitement kind of centers around Web3 or other areas where Bitcoin is more marginal.
Taking a look at some of the news items we've got Arizona, and they're considering, we've got a very enthusiastic state senator, Wendy Rogers, who wants to make Bitcoin legal tender there. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that there are a lot of folks who are also saying that this may not be constitutional. We'd have to see how that debate goes on, but it could be a potential tailwind for Bitcoin. What are your thoughts?
I think it's extremely unlikely to pass. And I think it's another one of these cases where you have to ask the question whether a certain group's attaching themselves to Bitcoin is really beneficial to Bitcoin. The sponsoring state legislator is Wendy Rogers, as you mentioned. She's a known follower of fringe conspiracy theories. Look, whatever you think of that, and I don't mean to get political, what I do think is interesting is the apparent divide among followers of those theories over Bitcoin, right? For some time now, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general have been very current among followers of right-wing conspiracy theories and extremist factions. But recently you had former President Donald Trump, who's an important figure for some of those ideas and some of those groups, condemning Bitcoin. Look, I think in general, it's important to watch the way support for cryptocurrency or condemnation of it breaks down along party lines, especially with regulatory hearings coming up. Next week, the Senate has one on risks, regulation, and innovation, I believe, on the 9th. And then there's a pair of stablecoin hearings as well in the House Financial Services on the 8th and Senate Banking on February 15th. So, regulation is in the wind. It's a story in the Wall Street Journal today on the XRP the XRP court case and how that might kind of affect potential legislation in cryptocurrency. So I think there's there's a great deal to pay close attention to there.
Well, the ADP is also reporting that January jobs missed expectations and fell by about half compared to December job gains. Could a spike in COVID-19 cases push the Federal Reserve off of its plan to begin hiking interest rates in March?
You are definitely venturing outside of my wheelhouse right there, Christine. But I think, I think everybody's going to be watching to see what the jobs report on Friday offers. And certainly there will be a tea leaf reading as to whether that might slow the path that the Fed has put itself on. I think, you have to sort of balance what you're seeing in the jobs numbers right now against what you're also seeing in the COVID numbers, which have largely been optimistic in areas that have done a good job vaccinating and controlling. I can speak personally, anecdotally. I was traveling this past week to California. Flights were either half empty or more. Airports were spacious, wide open places. I think there is an impact that Omicron is having on travel industries, and that was certainly where you saw the bulk of the impact in the ADP numbers. So certainly the Fed and watchers of the Fed will be looking to see whether those impacts are likely to be temporary, or whether, there may be as kind of a signal of a really broader, perhaps slowdown there that would actually cause the Fed to back off its current course.
And we're just generally seeing thinner volumes of Bitcoin. So I wonder where you see support resistant headed short term.
Yeah, it's we're still kind of in positive territory above where Bitcoin was trading a year ago. And certainly if you look back to pre-pandemic, Bitcoin has performed very well relative to stocks, which are now about where they were before the pandemic crash of March 2020. The question, I guess, is, can it go further down? I think, it was hard to imagine Bitcoin going below 40,000. So, sort of anything is possible at this point. But again, we've certainly seen support in the mid-low 30,000s. So, it would have to be a continued negative or worsening environment, I think, to head down in that direction. And one thing I think that's an important metric to watch is Bitcoin on exchanges. That continues to be at a record low percentage-wise. So, I don't think we're seeing the kind of, really wholesale panic selling activity and exit from cryptocurrency that might indicate a real plummet back down to to pre-2020 levels or something like that.
Yeah, and often coins off exchanges is a bullish sentiment. The thinking is that people are taking them off exchanges, using them, holding. So there's that. All right, Galen, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. That was our CoinDesk Director of Professional Content, Galen Moore. That's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lee. We'll do it all over again tomorrow at 3 o'clock in New York. Also join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for First Mover. You're watching CoinDesk TV.